Shalom. I've been asked to speak to you about the spiritual preparations for Pesach. This is somewhat of an oxymoron. It's like asking about the festive preparations for Tisha B'Av. When we think about Pesach, we don't think about spiritual preparations. We think about physical preparations. We're all so busy, so involved, so overwhelmed with the physical preparations for Pesach. All the cleaning, all the buying of everything you're going to eat for a week, all the new clothes, all the preparations for the Seder itself. Who has time or energy to think about spiritual preparations? Now this is very different than all the other holidays of the year. We start our spiritual preparations for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur on Rosh Chodesh Elul, a month before the holiday. We start our spiritual preparations for Shavuos, for Matan Torah, on the second day of Pesach, by counting the Omer. All the 49 days of the Omer are spiritual preparation for Shavuos. But where is the period of preparation, of spiritual preparation for Pesach? I think one answer may be that there isn't any, for a very good reason. Pesach is a free gift. Pesach and the freedom that we associate with Pesach, Zman Cherusenu, the time of our freedom, certain freedom, a release from constraints. Mitzrayim, of course, comes from the root word meaning tsar, but narrowness, the constricted places in us and in our lives, in our hearts, in our minds. Every year at Pesach time, we're granted freedom from that constricted self, and we're granted it as a free gift. Remember the original Pesach. We were on the 49th level of Tumah, of spiritual impurity in Egypt. We didn't deserve Yetziat Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt. We didn't deserve the freedom. Hashem gave it to us as a free gift. Now, this is not as easy as it seems, because receiving, being on the receiving end of a free gift, can be very hard for some people. All of us have some problem receiving. Some people have trouble receiving gifts, other people have trouble receiving compliments, other people have trouble receiving help. In Judaism, Hashem is the archetypal male, and all of us, men and women, are the archetypal female. The word neshama is a feminine word. All of us are female, because all of us, in relation to Hashem, all of us are receiving. Receiving puts us into a feeling of indebtedness, especially when we receive a free gift that we didn't do anything to deserve. And for many of us, that's a hard situation to be in. So in that sense, maybe we do have to work before Pesach in learning to receive, to be humble enough to receive, to be humble enough to say, I don't deserve this, but thank you very much. I'm going to receive it from you. Other than that, the spiritual preparation for Pesach, there's one thing the Jews in Egypt had to do. I'm not talking about, okay, you have to make yourself a kli. You have to make yourself a receptacle to receive the blessing that Hashem is trying to pour down. So in Mitzrayim, that meant doing the Korban Pesach. So in that sense, there was something the Jews had to do, but it certainly was not on par with what they received. It wasn't, well, you do the Korban Pesach and then you receive Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf and Matan Torah and all those things. No, it was just to make themselves a vessel. But there was something else. As you'll recall, Rashi says that only 1/5 of the Jewish people left Mitzrayim. Rashi says that 4/5 of the Jews died during the plague of darkness. They did not get to come out of Egypt. They did not merit this freedom of Yetziat Mitzrayim, the freedom that is granted on Pesach. What was the difference between the 1/5 that got the gift of freedom on Pesach and the 4/5 who didn't? And the answer is the ones who died during the plague of darkness didn't want to go out. It was simply a question of ratzon, of will. The ones who got to go out were the ones who wanted to go out. They wanted freedom. They wanted to get out of Mitzrayim. They wanted it. They had no means to achieve what they wanted. They couldn't attain it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't make it happen. But they wanted it. The 4/5 who died during the plague of darkness, they didn't want to leave Mitzrayim. They were comfortable. You know, it had been about a year when the plague started, the slavery stopped. It was a year. So there they were living in Mitzrayim, and we think when we read in the Torah about the people in the desert complaining about, oh, how good it was in Mitzrayim. We had cucumbers and watermelons and fish. And we think, are they crazy? They were slaves. They were being tortured. They were being beaten. They were being overworked. Well, the truth is, all that stopped a year before Yetziat Mitzrayim. It stopped a year before the Exodus. And it was very easy, therefore, for the majority, 80% of the Jewish people, to feel comfortable in Egypt. Now we're not having to slave. We don't have to work. We have the fish in the river. We have the vegetables here in our vegetable garden. It's comfortable, and this is a good place. This is a good place to be. Egypt, it's the capital of the world. It's the most progressive society into all of civilization. And 4/5 of the Jewish people, when it was a choice between remaining in Egypt, not as slaves, remember, they weren't enslaved anymore, but remaining in Egypt, in their comfort zone, or going out to the desert, 4/5 of our people decided, no, I don't want to go out to the unknown. You know, it says that Hashem refers to us in Navi. He says, you know, you followed me into the desert to a land unsown. It was a very big deal to go out to the desert. It says that no slave ever successfully escaped Egypt. Why not? It's not like there was a wall around Egypt, like the Great Wall of China. You couldn't just walk out at some point to escape. You could. But Egypt was surrounded by deserts. You had the Sinai Desert between Egypt and the Promised Land. To the south, you also have, it's a huge desert. The delta area of Egypt that was inhabited was surrounded by deserts on all sides, and the Mediterranean to the north. So if you could walk out, and you could walk out, then what? In order to get across the desert, you had to be very well supplied with camels full of water and other provisions and food. The people knew that they didn't have any camels. Some of them had donkeys. But there was no way they could carry enough water and food to last them to cross the entire Sinai Desert to the Promised Land. So when Hashem, through Moshe Rabbeinu, said, Hashem is going to take you out and bring you to this land that He promised your forefathers, it's like the people didn't have to be rocket scientists to figure, wait, even if He takes us out of Egypt, how are we going to get there? There's no food, there's no water, there's just desert. The sun will just dry you up, kill you. The amount of emunah that it took. The holiday of emunah is Pesach. Not the holiday of striving and working hard on ourselves and doing tshuva, but simply the holiday of emunah. That's Pesach. To have emunah in Hashem, He's going to take care of me. I don't know how I'm going to get from here to the Promised Land, because I know that physically there's just no way. But the emunah, to know that Hashem's going to take care of me. He says He's going to take me out. He says He's going to take me to the Promised Land. It's better than staying here in Egypt. Yes, it means going out into the unknown. Yes, it means leaving my comfort zone. But I want to go to that higher level. I want to go to that place that Hashem said is a very, very good land. The very first beginning of this whole 8-day conversation that Hashem had with Moshe Rabbeinu at the burning bush, Hashem starts out by saying, I want to take them out in order to bring them to that land. That is the land where the Jewish soul can be close to Hashem, can be in a very tight bond with Hashem. Those who left, the 20% who got to leave Egypt, were the 20% who said, I'm willing to leave my comfort zone. Hashem, please lead me up. Please lead me toward you. Please lead me to a situation where I can be closer and closer to you. So the spiritual preparation for Pesach is so simple compared to the physical preparation for Pesach. It's being able and willing to receive, and it's also putting yourself in a state of wanting to go forward, wanting to leave your comfort zone, wanting to get closer to Hashem, wanting to pay whatever price it takes to leave your comfort zone and go forward. May you all be blessed with a spiritually productive Pesach where you actually feel the liberation that Hashem gives you as a free gift.